Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And I did something recently that I never thought I would do. I bought a Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Let's talk about it. That's right, I walked into a Samsung store, put down my credit card, and after having to sell off my car and a couple of organs later so I could afford it, I walked out of the store with a brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Now, you may not know this about me, but I've not been a huge Samsung fan for a while, and there's a lot of various reasons for that. But you can't, just like Apple, right? You can't ignore the impact that they have on the mobile market, right? They kind of set the market, they set the bar for Android phones for the mass consumer, right? For you and me, for the techies, we might have vastly different priorities, but for the vast mass market consumer, Samsung still sets the bar. And this is the phone that pioneered the foldable phones, right? We're on the 6th generation now, obviously, but this is the one that pioneered the folding phone segment. So we can't not talk about it in a world of technology. Now, spoiler alert up front, this is not my favorite folding phone. Stay tuned later to find out which one is my favorite phone. But again, we can't not talk about it, right? So I wanted to pick up the Z Fold 6 just to play with it, just to see kind of what the hype is about, to see could it dethrone my current favorite folding phone, but also just to see like what improvements and refinements have been made. The last Z Fold I owned was the Z Fold 3. So we're 3 generations removed from that. And honestly, I didn't keep the Fold 3 very long. I didn't like it. It was interesting. It was unique. It was fun to use, but I just couldn't find a use for it. I couldn't justify a need for it to myself, right? Coupled with that, it was crazy expensive, right? I think I paid $1,800 for I think the Z3 was $1,800. Well, they raised the price on this guy, so now it's $1,900. I paid $2,000 for this phone. That's more than a laptop, guy. You can get a seriously decent computer for that. You can even get, you know what? I'm not gonna get into it. We'll talk about that later. But first, let's just hit up the specs, right? It's got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy, which all that means is it's clocked a little bit higher. Doesn't mean anything fancy. It's not necessarily gonna blow you away or have vastly better performance than a regular Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 will have. They've increased the front display size just a little bit. They gave you 1 extra millimeter. And the only reason they did that is because they squared off the sides, right? So, and I'm comparing this to the Z Fold 5. They gave us a little bit of extra screen real estate. As you can see, they squared off the design a little bit. If you remember from last year, it was still the curved display, curved edges, things like that. But all in all, it's still the same phone. You get the same cameras on the back. There's a 50 megapixel with a 12 megapixel and a 10 megapixel. So definitely not the leading camera technology that we're seeing. We're already seeing much better cameras on other phones. So this is a 2-year-old camera setup at this point. You can do all the camera things you would be able to do, right? You can do 8K video recording, you can do 4K video recording, all that fun stuff. Around front, we've got a 6.3-inch display, which again is a 1 millimeter increase over the Z Fold 5 from last year. The inside is a 7.6 millimeter diagonal screen, which again is a 1 millimeter improvement over the Z Fold 5. So if you haven't heard yet, this is an extremely iterative update, but we still have to talk about it because it's still an important phone, regardless of what we think about it in the end. It's still an important phone, and I'm not trying to say it's a bad phone. Like, don't hear me about that. It is, for what it is a fantastic piece of technology. It's incredible. The design is really, really good. It's crazy fast. It does all the things you want it to do. But I'm just talking about from my personal perspective, of somebody who's used a bunch of technology, who currently daily drives a folding phone, not this one. I'm just talking about it from that perspective. This is my opinions. You're here for my opinions. You're here to hear what I think. At least I hope you are. So I'm here to tell you what I think. But anyway, let's round out the rest of the specs. You can get it 256, 512, or a terabyte of storage. Only 12 gigabytes of RAM. 12 gigabytes of RAM in a $2,000 phone in 2024. Let me say that again. 12 gigabytes of RAM in 2024 in a $2,000 phone. Do I need to say it again? Samsung, please get with the picture. Especially if you're going to be touting all the AI features. Like, they're pushing AI so hard. Give us more RAM so that it's more future-proof. But hey, they want you to buy next year's Z Fold 7. So anyway, 4,400 milliamp hour battery. We're still stuck at the 25 watt wired charging, 15 watt wireless charging, and it's not even fully dust and water resistant. It's IP48, so it's fully water resistant. Excuse me, it is fully water resistant, but we still get a little bit of dust. Check out Jerry Rig Everything. He's got a great teardown as always. They do have some cool colors. This is my favorite color. That's honestly not an entirely small part of the reason I bought this phone, is because that color is just gorgeous. I mean, just look at it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Anyway, so me personally, my thoughts on it are, again, for what it is a piece of technology. It is a beautiful piece of technology, right? It's absolutely gorgeous. Like, it runs well. It does all the things you'd want it to do. It gives you all the things you'd expect from a folding phone. But to me, the part that's still really disappointing is I have small hands, so you would think a tiny display like this one would be great for me. And it is 6.3 inches, but it still suffers from the same exact problem that the Z Fold 1 did 6 years ago. It's still just too narrow. Like, even using it one-handed, for me at first, the first time I picked it up, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. It's finally a phone for someone with tiny hands. But no, even my tiny hands, I get frustrated trying to use this narrow screen. It's just still not quite big enough. They're still going for the tall aspect ratio, much like what Sony does on their phones, but it's not wide enough. It bothers me. It's annoying. So then I find myself constantly having to open up to the middle screen. And when I do that, when I'm forced to do that all the time, when I'm forced to constantly opening it to this bigger screen, it makes me wonder, like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, do I really need all this screen real estate all the time, right? I don't. I find myself questioning, like, what is my use case? Why am I actually what am I doing on my phone that I need to actually open it up every time? A lot of things I do on my phone, I don't want to have to open it up every time, right? Because then as soon as I open it up, I definitely have to use two hands. So I have to stop and be more intentional about what I'm doing. And that's fine for a lot of things, but it's also not fine for a lot of things. So I still am not a huge fan of the super narrow front screen. Opening up to the inside, again, it's a rectangle again, right? So there's only certain ways you can use it, right? There's only certain ways you can use the screen, or it just gives you a weird aspect ratio, like for watching content or playing games or things like that. Like, it only works well a certain way. If you have it the wrong rotation, it just looks janky. I'd much prefer the squarer screen of something like the OnePlus Open, right? And the OnePlus Open, I think, also has a much better front screen, right? It's about the same size, but it's wider. So the front of the OnePlus Open basically just feels like if you cut the back half off, it would be a great phone. Now, let's talk about the thing Samsung wants you to put, like the reason Samsung didn't upgrade any of the hardware here. The main reason Samsung just coasted this year, Galaxy AI, right? Have you heard of AI before? If you haven't, get ready to. So you've probably seen they put all the Galaxy AI features in here that came out on the S24 series earlier this year. They've got the live translate. They've got the circle to search. They've got all the stuff they've talked about, right? And to be completely honest with you, I've had this phone for a little over a week now. I've not used a single one. I literally have not used a single AI feature in this phone since I had it. And when all the Galaxy AI features came to my S23 Ultra earlier this year, I played with them for 10 minutes and then never touched them again. Completely honest. I played with them, never touched them again. So I don't really find a use for them. I would much rather you give me better hardware, focus on making actual genuine improvements to the phone, instead of throwing in a bunch of software features I'm probably never going to use, okay? Now, it still takes decent pictures. Let's talk about the camera for a second. It still takes decent pictures, but again, it's the exact same camera setup from the Z Fold 5, which I believe is mostly unchanged from the Z Fold 4. So they're trying to push a 2-year-old camera system in a $2,000 phone and say, this is the best we got. Do better, Samsung. Do better. So this isn't necessarily my full review. I just wanted to give some thoughts on the Z Fold 6, kind of tell you what I thought about it. I will try to do a comparison to my current daily drive foldable phone, which is, spoiler alert, the OnePlus Open. That's right, I've got it right here. So I've been daily driving that for a while, pretty much since it came out. And this is not going to take me away from it. It's just not. For as fantastic of a piece of hardware as this is, the feel is great. I don't like the sharp corners, but it actually still feels really good in the hand. But it's not going to take me away from the Open. So let me know down in the comments what you think about the Z Fold 6. What do you want me to go over about the Z Fold 6? Do you want me to show you some of the AI features? Do you want me to do a full comparison video of the OnePlus Open? Of course, I'm going to do my best to get a comparison of the Pixel Fold that just came, the new Pixel 9 Fold that just came out. But again, I'm on my own budget, so if somebody wants to sponsor that video, let me know. But yeah, so those are my early thoughts, kind of my first impressions of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Stay tuned for a whole lot more. Be sure to like and subscribe for when any more videos about the Z Fold 6 come out. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.